All right. It is the end of 2025. Today is December 30th, and this video is going to break down how this year went for me as a 19-year-old with a business that has hit a seven-figure run rate, everything that I learned over the past year, my biggest wins, biggest losses, and goals and plans for next year. So before we hop in, I do want to just say this is going to be a fully unedited video, just going over the reality of things. This is probably going to be the most raw video that I have ever posted. I'm going to be really pulling back the curtains and giving you guys a good insight into what it really takes for most people to actually hit a seven-figure run rate as a teenager or early 20s person. So with that said, I'm going to take a sip of my Ghost and then we'll dive in. So biggest wins are going to be the first thing. Number one biggest win is hitting a seven-figure run rate. My biggest goal was to get to 50K a month. That was kind of the milestone that I set at the start of this year. And needless to say, we surpassed that by quite a bit. So that was the number one biggest win over the past year. And there's several things that allowed me to actually make that jump. The number one biggest is hiring good people and having them in the right seats. I would have stayed stuck had I not been able to delegate certain things, hire people where needed, and level up in other ways myself. The second biggest win is the fact that, tying back to the people, I remove myself from day-to-day operations in my agency. I am able to work very little in the agency now and still have a good paycheck coming if that's my goal. And ultimately, I think that that is a major win, but also a major area of potential failure or a potential trap, because it is easier to not work when you don't have to. And if you don't work, then you don't move things forward and you ultimately just feel worse from what I've seen. Number three, biggest win is that just in every area, this is a very broad win, but I've grown exponentially. The way that I think about things, the way that I act in business, the control that I seem to have over myself, my life has definitely grown exponentially over the past year. And that's due to several things. I've lived in 3 major cities, which is another win, in skyrise buildings in the mall. I have the ability to kind of do almost whatever I want, whenever I want. And I think having that ability shifts the way that you think about things. I think that realizing that there is different aspects of life to improve and grow in is something that a lot of people will only truly understand after they have made a lot of money and don't need to just work. For me, for example, I, for the longest time, thought that the only thing that I wanted to work for was the cars, the nice apartments, the ability to not think about money. And now that I have all of that, I realize that it's actually not the case. And we'll tie back into some of this and some of the biggest losses of the year. But over the past few months, I've realized that the reason why I am building my businesses now is not for the money. It's not for the apartments. Sure, that stuff is nice. Sure, I'm always going to upgrade in it. And that's part of the reason. But the bigger reason why, for me at this point, I am still focused on building businesses, focused on growing, is not for the materialistic things, but rather for the achievement of doing high level things that most people can't, the network that doing those things unlocks, and just seeing something that you've built grow to be something huge. So one of my biggest goals, to tie to that quickly, for next year is to get an in-person office where my whole team that is located in the US at least can come together, work, build, grow, have a good environment. That to me is something more valuable than a fancy car, a nice apartment, any materialistic thing. I would rather spend my money on an office where my team can come together, they can learn and grow together, we can have an amazing culture, than I would spend it on a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, any of those other things, which oftentimes, surprisingly, are a somewhat similar price. You can get a nice office for 5-6K a month, which is what it would cost to get a mid-level Aventador per month. So that is definitely something that I've learned over the past year, and I think that's a big win, is just the growth in what I'm working for. And it's something that if you guys have already been in business for a while and achieved some good level of success, you'll have likely realized as well. And if you haven't yet gotten to the point where you're making, I would say 50 to 60K a month is where this realization started to hit me. You probably haven't experienced it yet, but you definitely will once you get to that point. So overall, those are the three biggest wins. Hit a 7-figure run rate, removed myself from day-to-day operations, and grew exponentially in the way that I think and the way that I act. Number 2, I want to go over my biggest losses of the year so that you guys can avoid them and ensure that you don't go through the same struggles or losses that I did. And before that, if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram. One of my biggest goals for this coming year is to connect with more agency owners, more business owners who think in a similar manner to me. I have literally nothing to sell you. I just want to connect. I make all my money from my agency, so there's no reason for me to go sell you a course or anything. Now, number 2 biggest losses. Number 1 is that I lost a lot of financial discipline, and I think that pairs with the increase in revenue and amount of money that I take home, is the fact that I haven't needed to have financial discipline, so I just haven't. And it's definitely not a good thing. Even if you don't need something, that if it's beneficial, you should still likely have it. I think financial discipline is a great area for that. I've been spending significantly more money than what I want to be spending. When you average it out, I've probably spent 15 to 20K per month on average every single month personally throughout this year, which is way more money than I should be spending personally. So this next year, my goal is to go under 8,000 per month, preferably 6, but as I move into a nicer apartment, which is something that I will likely do, 8,000 is kind of the threshold that I have set for myself in terms of personal spending. And I want to regain that financial discipline, as a lot of what got me here is discipline, not just in finances, but in all areas of life. So regaining that is going to be huge. Number 2 is the fact that over the past 3 months, correlating with the time that I removed myself from day-to-day operations in my business, I have been significantly less focused on work in general. Not that I have been partying or doing anything like that. That's still something that I never have and likely never will do, but more so in the aspect of there's 50 different things that I could be doing to push my business forward at any given time. And as a result of not having great clarity around what to work on, I would sit there and do mindless or ineffective work that didn't really push things forward. This is an issue that has been fixed more recently, but there was a significant chunk of time that was essentially wasted because I didn't have clarity around what to work on. And similarly to that loss, the third biggest loss is moving with too little speed when it comes to actual full execution of things. So I haven't moved quick enough with things that need to be done, and as a result, my business has not grown as quickly as it could. Sure, I've hit a 7-figure run rate, but I'm confident that it could have been a multi-7-figure run rate if I was moving quicker and getting things done that needed to get done faster. So a big thing that I'll be changing coming into this next year is focusing on having clear set things that need to be done every day before the day starts. A huge thing that helped me with this loss of not having good clarity and as a result not having good input is building out a 10-year vision, 5-year vision, 3-year roadmap, 1-year plan, quarterly plan, monthly plan, weekly plan, and daily plan. Sounds like a lot. It is. It took me about a day to fully build everything out, but it has by far been probably the best investment of time that I've had in the past 3 months, because the focus and clarity that I've gained from that, and as a result, the increase in both input and output in my business has increased exponentially because every day I have a clear plan on things that I need to get done, things that I could get done if I finish the things that I need to, and things that I should get done if I finish both of the others. And that ultimately has just given me a much better ability to actually execute and implement things. There's every day at least 3 to 5 things on a must-do list, and it's very clear that I just need to go through that. Whereas before, I would have, like I said, like 50 things that could get done, but I would debate in my head which of these is going to push me forward the fastest, and as a result, I would get none of them done. When by now, I could have everything that I needed to get done if I had just started on at least one of them back then. So focusing on moving actually with a bit less speed in the micro, but more speed in the macro is definitely something that I'll be doing next year. And moving to next year's goals, I've got a few big goals. Number one is hit 2.5 million in revenue. I think that's very achievable from where I'm at and the model that we have. Number two is get an in-person office in a high-rise building. Not sure exactly what city yet, but definitely leaning towards Chicago. Chicago has been my favorite city that I've lived in so far. And I want to get a nice in-person office, like I said earlier, that everybody can come to and has a great environment for people to learn, grow, and just have a good time working together. And that's going to be a difficult one. It's going to be expensive. I'm going to need to actually hit my revenue goals to get an office because it is a big commitment. It is a lot of money that's going out. If it's $5,000-6,000 a month, that is a significant amount of money just as your base rent. You're probably also paying your employees more. You have other expenses that come with the office. So it's definitely something that is going to be a stretch, but it's reachable. It's achievable. I think by Q3, I should be able to get an office locked down. My next goal for the coming year, so those are the first two, office, 2.5 million revenue, are get better at focusing just in general. This is something that has always been a goal of mine, and I think I've done a decent job of. I think that in Chicago, I was probably the most focused. Miami, middle focused. Austin has been the least until recently. I've been extremely focused, probably more focused than ever before over the past few weeks or past week to 2 weeks, which is good. And I think that I'll be able to continue that momentum. Typically, when I get focused, I'm able to stay focused until something pulls me out of it, which is the case in Chicago. I was extremely focused the whole time there until I moved to Miami, which is another thing that I'll be attempting to not do next year is break leases. I spent over $20,000 breaking leases this year, which is obviously a significant amount of money and just a significant amount that I didn't need to spend. So that is a big goal for next year. Don't break leases or don't waste money where we don't need to. And number four is make sure that I'm doing the correct inputs to maximize output, but also focus on maximizing and not optimizing. This ties back into the concept I spoke about earlier of having 50 tasks that could be done and getting none of them done as a result. It is valuable to make sure that you're working on the right thing, but to an extent, if you're working on nothing, then obviously working on the wrong thing would in many cases be better. So this year I want to focus on picking the one most important thing to work on and then just executing, not overthinking it, just executing and maximizing, not optimizing, meaning not spending so much time thinking, what is the absolute best way to do this? What's the best sleep schedule? What's the best times for me to work? Just working and getting the most possible output done instead of trying to optimize every minute of input. And that's kind of the biggest lessons that I learned over the past year. It's a reflection of wins, losses over the past year, as well as some goals that I have for this coming year. And this is really just to document and hold myself accountable to an extent. Like I said, midway through this video, if you haven't already followed me on Instagram, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go ahead and do that now. That brings me actually to my final goal of this year, which I did not write down because it's kind of separate and not as business related, but it's to build a strong network of people who have similar goals and are also in similar spots So people who are already also doing 7 to 8 figures per year, building a good network of those people in different cities, in Chicago, in Austin, in Miami, in other cities that they may be in, is going to be a big goal. And I think this channel will help propel me through that. Short form content, I also think is going to help me just to get more reach. I don't know exactly what to post for short form yet. If you have any good ideas, comment below. But that's going to wrap this video up. This is not my typical lifestyle type of video, but this should be relatively valuable for anybody in business, just seeing my reflections, my wins, my losses, my goals. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up. I am going to finish drinking this Ghost, get back to work on the computer, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you.